"I want to buy a dad," said the black girl to the store owner, but he was a billionaire. Rain pattered lightly against the glass windows of Carter's Rare Reads, a quaint used bookstore tucked away on a bustling Seattle street. Neon lights from the coffee shops across the way reflected off the glistening droplets, painting a dreamy scene, modern yet timeless. Inside, the air was warm, a cozy blend of old paper, polished wood, and a faint vanilla scent from a half-burned candle on the counter. Towering shelves, packed with leather-bound books worn at the edges, seemed to whisper stories from centuries past. Soft piano music drifted from hidden speakers, muffling the city's hum outside. But in this tranquil haven, an unexpected moment was about to shake everything. Ava Thompson, a 7-year-old girl with curly hair tied back by a faded blue ribbon, stood quietly by the counter's edge. Her scuffed sneakers, a size too big, squeaked on the hardwood floor as she shifted her weight. Her patched-up jacket clung to her small frame, as if it once belonged to someone else, from another time. Ava's big, bright eyes sparkled with determination tinged with worry. In her hand was a crumpled bus ticket, worth $5, which she'd carefully stashed in a tin box under her bed for a whole month. She took a deep breath, like she was about to cross a rickety bridge, and placed the ticket on the glossy glass counter. Her voice, small but firm, broke the quiet. "I want to buy a mom." The clerk behind the counter, a 20-something guy with dyed blonde hair and earbuds dangling around his neck, looked up from his phone. He raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a smirk. "Kid, this is a bookstore, not a mom mart." His tone carried a hint of sarcasm, as if Ava's words were a silly joke. A few nearby customers, a gray-haired woman flipping through an old novel, a college kid with a to-go coffee, paused, their curious glances turning toward the counter. The air in the shop thickened, the piano music suddenly feeling distant. Ava bit her lip, her small hands gripping the edge of her jacket. She didn't back down, though her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I heard this place sells everything," she said, her voice trembling but still resolute. "I brought all the money I have." She pointed at the bus ticket, as if it were a priceless treasure. The clerk chuckled, louder this time, enough to make the older woman nearby frown. $5? Kid, you can't even buy a clearance book with that, let alone... He trailed off, shaking his head like he was done with the game. "Look, if you're not buying anything, you gotta go. We're busy." Ava stepped back, her eyes glistening, but she didn't cry. She stood there, tiny amid the towering shelves, like a sparrow lost in a deep forest. The rain outside seemed to grow louder, drowning out the music. A few customers started whispering, their looks a mix of pity and curiosity. No one spoke up, but everyone felt it. Something undeniable had just happened. Just then, the door from the back room swung open. Samuel Carter, the shop's owner, stepped out. The 45-year-old man, with salt and pepper hair and a well-tailored gray suit, carried a calm but commanding presence. His eyes, deep as untold stories, scanned the scene. He paused, hand still on the doorknob, his gaze locking onto Ava. "What's going on here?" His voice was low but cut through the tension like a knife. The clerk flinched, straightening up. Mr. Carter, it's just... this kid's talking nonsense." "She says she wants to buy a mom with a bus ticket." He forced a laugh, hoping his boss would find it funny, but Samuel didn't smile. He walked forward slowly, his leather shoes clicking softly on the floor. He knelt in front of Ava, meeting her eyes, and asked gently, like a father, "Why do you want to buy a mom, sweetheart?" Ava hesitated, looking into Samuel's eyes that didn't judge or mock. She took another breath, then whispered, "Because my mom went to heaven. I only have my brother Nathan, but he works all day. I want someone to read me stories before bed." Her words faded, but each one carved deep into the air. Samuel froze, his hand tightening unconsciously. For a moment, he wasn't in his elegant bookstore. He was an 8-year-old boy again, sitting by a hospital bed, listening to his mother's voice read fairy tales one last time. The customers fell silent. The clerk stood still, his earbuds now on the counter. The rain outside kept falling, now like a mournful melody, blending with the heartbeats of everyone present. Ava's story, with her $5 bus ticket and simple wish, had opened a door no one expected, and this was just the beginning. The rain continued its soft patter outside Carter's rare reads, the droplets sliding down the windows, catching the neon glow from Seattle's lively streets. Inside, the bookstore's warm air, scented with old paper and polished oak, felt frozen in time. The soft piano music from hidden speakers was barely audible, overtaken by the tense silence. All eyes were on Ava Thompson, the 7-year-old girl with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, clutching her patched jacket. Her words, "I want to buy a mom," still hung in the air, halting every motion in the shop. The young clerk, his smirk gone, fidgeted behind the counter, nervously twisting his earbuds. But just as Ava seemed about to retreat, a deep voice broke the stillness. "What's going on here?" Samuel Carter, the bookstore's owner, stood at the threshold of the back room, his sharp eyes free of judgment. The 45-year-old, with neatly combed salt and pepper hair and a fitted gray suit, exuded quiet authority. His hands were in his pockets, but his gaze fixed on Ava, as if he saw something profound beyond a child's odd request. The clerk jumped, stammering, Mr. Carter, this kid, she says she wants to buy a mom with a $5 bus ticket." He tried to laugh, hoping to lighten the mood. But Samuel's face stayed serious. He stepped forward, his polished shoes clicking on the glossy hardwood, each step carrying an unspoken weight. The crowd, the older woman with her novel, the college kid with his coffee, watched in silence. Samuel stopped in front of Ava and crouched down, meeting her eye level. His movement was gentle, as if he feared startling her. "Why do you want to buy a mom, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice warm, like a long-lost uncle. Ava hesitated, her small hands clutching her jacket's hem. Her faded ribbon trembled as she took a deep breath. "Because my mom went to heaven," she whispered, her voice soft but clear, each word piercing the hearts around her. "She had a heart problem since I was 4. Now I live with Nathan, but he works all day. I just want someone to be home, to hug me when I'm scared." The shop seemed to hold its breath. The older woman nearby pressed a hand to her mouth, her eyes misty. The clerk lowered his head, his earbuds forgotten, as if realizing his mistake and mocking her. Samuel stilled, a flicker of pain crossing his eyes, as if Ava's words had touched an old wound. He remembered a hospital room from when he was 8, where his mother, her voice faint, read him tales of nights before she was gone forever. "Heaven, huh?" Samuel said, his voice softer, almost a whisper. "I get it. But we don't sell people here, sweetheart, though I really wish I could help you." Ava looked down, her eyes shimmering but tearless. She nodded slightly, as if used to her dreams being turned away. "I know," she said, her voice tiny. "I just thought, with all these books, there might be a way." Her innocence made a few customers smile, but it was a bittersweet smile. Samuel looked at her, then stood, turning to the clerk. "Let her stay," he said, his voice quiet but firm, making the young man nod quickly. "She's not bothering anyone." He turned back to Ava, offering a small smile. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Ava," she replied, her voice steadier. "Ava Thompson." Samuel nodded, as if the name was worth remembering. "I'm Samuel. I own this place. And Ava, I promise I'll find a way to help you, even if it's not by selling anyone, okay?" Ava looked up, her eyes sparking with a hint of hope, though still wary. She nodded, her hand still clutching the bus ticket, as if it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Outside, the rain fell steadily, blending with the faint piano notes. But inside Carter's rare reads, a story had begun. No one knew that this moment, with a 7-year-old girl and her $5 ticket, would unlock a secret far bigger, one that could change the world around them. And Samuel Carter, with his deep, knowing eyes, seemed to sense it. The rain had eased to a drizzle outside Carter's rare reads, the soft Seattle night settling over the city like a quiet sigh. Inside, the bookstore's golden glow from antique chandeliers warmed the oak shelves, where hundreds of leather-bound books stood neatly, carrying the scent of aged paper and distant memories. The piano music played on, a gentle undercurrent now overshadowed by the weight of what had just unfolded. Ava Thompson, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, stood before Samuel Carter, her small hands gripping her patched jacket. Her confession about her mother going to heaven and her wish for someone to hug me when I'm scared lingered, silencing the nearby customers. The older woman with her novel dabbed her eyes, the college kid with his coffee stood frozen, and the young clerk, now quiet, stared at his shoes. Samuel Carter, the 45-year-old with salt and pepper hair and deep eyes, remained crouched before Ava, level with her gaze. He felt the weight of her words, as if they weren't just a child's plea, but a key to a door he'd long kept locked. "You want someone to read you bedtime stories, don't you?" he asked, his voice soft but trembling, as if walking a fragile thread of memory. Ava nodded, her big eyes shining, not with tears, but with a fierce longing. "Other kids have moms," she whispered, her voice small but firm, like a declaration. "They get hugs, stories, and someone to say everything's okay. I want that. I want someone who's not always tired like Nathan." Her words cut like a blade, not just through Samuel, but through everyone around. A young mother near the children's section pulled her own child closer, as if shielding them from Ava's pain. Samuel froze, his gaze drifting to a distant place. For a moment, he wasn't in his grand bookstore, surrounded by oak shelves and warm light. He was an 8-year-old in a cramped Tacoma apartment, listening to his mother's faint but loving voice read about knights and dragons under a dim lamp. "My mom used to read to me," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "She told me about singing stars, ships sailing through the sky, but then she went to heaven too, like your mom." He paused, his hand tightening on his suit jacket, as if holding on to the memory. "I miss her laugh, the way she tucked me in, the way she said everything would be okay, even when she knew it wouldn't." Ava looked at Samuel, her eyes flickering with a shared understanding, as if she saw more in him than his words revealed. "Do you miss her?" she asked, her innocence sharp, piercing his core. Samuel nodded, his lips pressed tight. "Every day," he said, his voice cracking for the first time, as if confessing a truth he'd buried for decades. "But Ava, I want you to know that even though your mom's not here, you've got people who love you. Your brother Nathan, he's doing everything he can." Ava lowered her head, her ribbon swaying slightly. "I know," she said, her voice barely audible, as if convincing herself. "But Nathan's always tired. He works all night, then delivers packages all day. I just want him to rest, want someone to help him, and help me." She looked up, her eyes brightening with a sadness too heavy for a 7-year-old. Samuel's chest tightened. He remembered the long nights after his mother's death, when his father drowned in whiskey, and he wondered if he'd ever be loved again. Just then, the shop's front door burst open, the bell jingling sharply, shattering the silence. A young man about 25 rushed in, his breath ragged. Nathan Brooks, soaked from the rain, his delivery jacket dripping, scanned the room. "Ava!" he called, his voice a mix of panic and relief when he spotted his sister. He ran over, dropping to his knees and pulling her into a tight hug. "You scared the heck out of me. Why'd you run off like that?" Ava nestled into him, but her eyes flicked back to Samuel, as if she wasn't ready to leave. Nathan looked up at Samuel, his expression a blend of apology and wariness. "I'm sorry if she caused any trouble," he said, his voice tired but sincere. "She gets these wild ideas sometimes." Samuel stood, offering a gentle smile, though his eyes held a deep sadness. "No trouble at all," he said. "Ava's just looking for something special." He glanced at the girl, and in that moment, they shared an unspoken bond, a connection between two hearts that had lost their most cherished person. Outside, the rain softened, but inside Carter's rare reads, a larger story was beginning to unfold, like an old book dusted off after years of neglect. The rain had stopped, leaving Seattle's air damp and heavy, as if the city were holding its breath. Inside Ava Thompson and Nathan Brooks's cramped apartment, a flickering table lamp cast uneven light on peeling walls. The small living room smelled of burnt coffee from the kitchen and the faint drip of a leaky faucet in the corner. It was the only place Ava felt safe, though it never truly felt like home. On a worn armchair, Ava sat cross-legged, her curly hair tied with a faded blue ribbon. In her hands was an old book, The Twinkling Stars, its dark green leather cover embossed with faded gold letters, a gift from Samuel Carter before she left his bookstore that afternoon. The book felt heavy in her lap, as if it held a secret yet to be told. Nathan, still in his wet delivery jacket, rummaged in the kitchen, trying to brew coffee to fend off exhaustion from his extra shift. "Ava, get to bed early," he called, his voice hoarse. I've got an early morning. But Ava didn't respond. Her eyes were glued to the book, as if it were speaking only to her. She flipped through the pages, her small fingers tracing handwritten notes about stars and dreams that soared across the sky. The lamp flickered, casting long shadows on the walls, like dances from the past. Then, as she turned to the final page, a faint click sounded, almost inaudible. Ava froze, her heart pounding. She tilted the book, and from a hidden slit between the leather cover and the last page, a brittle piece of paper slipped out, landing in her lap. Beside it was a tiny silver key, glinting under the light like a forgotten gem. Ava picked up the paper, her hands trembling. Elegant, bold handwriting read, "For the one who sees light in the darkness, keep it safe. SC." She whispered the words to herself, afraid to disturb the secret she'd uncovered. SC. Samuel Carter? Why would he hide this in the book he gave her? Ava glanced toward the kitchen, where Nathan rubbed his temples, his eyes heavy under the dim light. She wanted to run to him, to tell him, but she stopped. Nathan already carried too much, bills piling up on the table, endless night shifts, and the fear of losing her, his only family. She didn't want to add another burden. Carefully, she folded the paper, tucking it with the key into her patched jacket, then hugged the book close, as if it were a friend who could keep her secret. "Ava, you hearing me?" Nathan called louder, stepping out of the kitchen with a steaming mug. Ava jumped, quickly closing the book. "Yeah, I'm going to bed," she said, hopping off the chair and darting to her corner of the room, where an old mattress sat by the window. That night, Ava couldn't sleep. Curled under a thin blanket, the streetlight's glow slipped through torn curtains, illuminating the book by her pillow. The key and paper in her jacket seemed to radiate a strange warmth, keeping her awake. She thought of Samuel, his sad eyes when he spoke of his mother, the way he looked at her, as if he knew something she didn't. Why did he choose her? What did this book, this key, mean? Ava recalled her mother's words, spoken in her final days in the hospital, her voice weak but firm. "You're my light, Ava. Don't let the darkness hide you." Was this what her mom wanted her to find? She sat up, quietly pulling the key from her jacket, studying it under the streetlight. It was small but intricate, with tiny patterns etched into its surface, like a miniature map to a hidden place. A shiver of excitement and fear ran through her. She knew this wasn't just a gift. It was a door, a secret Samuel had deliberately entrusted to her. But where did it lead? And did she, a 7-year-old with a $5 bus ticket, have the courage to open it? The next morning, as Nathan left for his delivery route, Ava sat alone on her mattress, the book open before her. She flipped to the last page, checking for anything she'd missed. No more papers, but when she pressed the leather cover, another faint click sounded. A tiny hidden compartment, just big enough for a finger, appeared inside the cover. Ava's heart raced. She reached in, her fingers touching something cold and hard, a small black USB drive labeled with handwritten text, Starlight. Ava held it up, her eyes blazing. This secret was bigger than she'd imagined. And she knew, no matter how scared she was, she had to find out what it meant. Outside, Seattle woke under a gray sky. Car horns, footsteps, and the smell of coffee from street vendors mingled in the air. But in that tiny apartment, Ava Thompson had just stepped into a journey that would change everything, not just for her, but for those she loved and the secrets lurking in the shadows. The rain had cleared, but Seattle's air remained damp, heavy with the promise of another storm. Inside Carter's Rare Reads, the antique bookstore on a busy downtown street, golden chandelier light warmed the oak shelves, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. The scent of old paper mingled with polished wood, but the shop's usual calm was gone. Ava Thompson, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, stood behind her brother Nathan Brooks, her big eyes flickering with anxiety and curiosity. In her hands was the book, The Twinkling Stars, now holding a secret that made her heart pound, a silver key, a cryptic note, and a USB labeled Starlight. Nathan, his delivery jacket worn at the shoulders and his eyes weary, gripped Ava's hand tightly, his gaze fixed on Samuel Carter, the shop's owner, behind the counter. Nathan stepped forward, his muddy boots leaving tracks on the polished floor. "What did you do to my sister, Carter?" His voice was sharp, laced with anger and worry built up from endless days working to support Ava. He held up the tiny silver key, its surface catching the light like a warning. I found this in the book you gave her. A note with your initials and a USB. What kind of game are you playing? The air in the shop grew thick. A few customers, an old man browsing history books, a young woman with earbuds, paused, sensing the tension. The young clerk behind the counter stayed silent, his eyes darting between Nathan and Samuel. Samuel, with his salt and pepper hair and tailored gray suit, didn't rush to answer. He stepped out from behind the counter, moving closer to Nathan, but his eyes lingered on Ava. His gaze, deep and full of untold stories, seemed to search for something in the girl. "I'm not playing any game, Nathan," he said, his voice low and steady, carrying a weight that silenced the room. "That book, I didn't give it to Ava by chance. Your mother was part of something much bigger. She was a light in the darkness, and I think Ava is too." His words hit like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples through Nathan. He frowned, his grip on Ava tightening. "My mom. She worked a desk job at a hospital, not some crazy conspiracy. What do you know about her?" Samuel took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with regret, as if reopening a painful chapter. He gestured for Nathan and Ava to follow, leading them through a wooden door to a small office at the back. The room was cramped, its walls covered with maps, old photos, and red strings connecting points like a web of secrets. A faded black and white photo hung in the corner. A young woman with a smile like Ava's, standing outside a hospital, holding a stack of files. "This is your mother," Samuel said, his voice softening. "She wasn't just a clerk. She was part of a covert network fighting MedSynth, a corporation running illegal medical trials on kids. She gathered evidence, smuggled it out until..." He paused, his eyes darkening. "Until they caught her." Nathan stepped back, as if Samuel's words had struck him in the chest. "You're saying my mom was a spy, and you dragged Ava into this?" His voice rose, trembling with anger and confusion. Ava, clinging to his side, hugged the book tighter, her eyes scanning the photo of her mother. She stayed quiet, but her gaze burned, as if she'd found a missing piece of her heart. "I didn't drag Ava in," Samuel replied, his voice firm yet gentle. "She came to my shop with $5 and a dream. I saw your mother in her eyes, and I believe she deserves the truth." Nathan stared at Samuel, then down at Ava, his heart torn between fear and curiosity. "What truth?" he asked, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Samuel moved to an old wooden desk, unlocking a drawer and pulling out another photo. Ava's mother, standing beside a stranger, both holding the same silver key. "The truth about Starlight," Samuel said. "A project your mother tried to stop, and now maybe Ava's the one to finish it." Outside, dark clouds gathered, signaling a new storm. In the small room, the air hummed with secrets just beginning to unravel, like an old book opened to a dangerous page. Seattle's sky darkened, heavy clouds blotting out the moon, as if hiding a secret too big to reveal. In Ava Thompson and Nathan Brooks's tiny apartment, the old table lamp flickered, casting patchy light on stained walls and a stack of unpaid bills. The faint smell of burnt coffee lingered, mixing with the drip of a leaky faucet. Ava, the 7-year-old, with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, sat cross-legged on her worn mattress by the window, her big eyes fixed on a small black USB drive in her hand. The white label, with Starlight scrawled in ink, seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, both thrilling and terrifying. Nathan, his delivery jacket frayed, leaned against the wall, his eyes weary yet troubled after their confrontation with Samuel Carter at Carter's Rare Read. Beside him, Lila Hayes, a freelance journalist and old friend, with short, brown-dyed hair and sharp eyes, typed furiously on an old laptop. The room felt heavy, as if the three stood at the edge of an abyss. "Ava, let me see it," Lila said, her voice low but urgent. Ava hesitated, then handed over the USB, her small hand trembling. Lila plugged it into her laptop, the screen flickering as files loaded. A series of folders appeared with cryptic names. Phase 1 trials, subject profiles, neurological data. Lila clicked on subject profiles, revealing a long list of records, each with photos and medical stats. Nathan stepped closer, peering over her shoulder, his breath catching as a photo appeared. their mother, with Ava's gentle smile, standing in a lab, holding a test tube. Below it read, Agent Internal, Starlight Resistance. "Mom?" Nathan whispered, his voice breaking, as if he'd found a long-lost piece of her. Lila clicked further, opening a document titled Starlight Overview. The text was cold, clinical, but its contents chilled them. Starlight, a secret MedSynth project, tested memory-enhancing drugs on kids from poor neighborhoods, aiming to create super-intelligent generations. But handwritten notes in the margins revealed horrors. The drugs caused irreversible brain damage, seizures, memory loss, even death in many subjects. "They did this to kids," Lila said, her voice shaking with rage. "They picked kids no one would miss, orphans, poor kids, so no one would ask questions when they disappeared." Ava, not fully grasping the details, clutched the twinkling stars, her eyes burning with a resolve beyond her years. "Mom tried to stop them, didn't she?" she asked, her voice small but certain. Nathan knelt before Ava, his hands on her shoulders. "Yeah," he said, his voice rough. "Mom fought for kids like you." Lila opened a video file from the USB, and their mother's face filled the screen. Her voice, weak but fierce, spoke, "MedSynth is destroying innocent kids' futures. I've gathered evidence, but they're watching me. If I don't make it, keep going." The video cut off abruptly, as if severed mid-sentence. The room grew thick, only the faucets drip and their racing heartbeats breaking the silence. "Ava, you found this in Samuel's book," Nathan said, his eyes shifting from confusion to resolve. "He knew about Mom, about Starlight, but why give it to you?" Ava bit her lip, her fingers tightening on her ribbon. "I think he believes I can do something," she said, her voice small but powerful. Lila looked up from the laptop, her eyes flashing. "Samuel's not just a bookseller. He might be part of the network Mom worked with. We need to meet him, but first, we have to get this data somewhere safe." Suddenly, a loud knock rattled the front door, startling them. The hallway light flickered, and a cold male voice called, "Open the door!" "We know you have something that's not yours." Nathan pulled Ava behind him, his eyes scanning for an escape. Lila yanked the USB out, stuffing it into her jacket. "They found us faster than I thought," she whispered, her voice taut. Ava, though scared, gripped Nathan's hand, her eyes blazing like her mother's. "Mom wanted us to stop them," she said, her voice steady. "We're not running." Outside, Seattle sank into darkness, distant sirens blending with the pounding hearts in the small apartment. The Starlight secret was out, but danger was at their door. Ava, Nathan, and Lila weren't just a struggling family anymore. They were heirs to a mother's fight for justice, ready to face the shadows ahead. Darkness swallowed Seattle, the neon-lit streets turning cold, as if the city braced for a storm. In a secret basement beneath an abandoned warehouse in the old industrial district, green light from ancient computer screens flickered, illuminating the tense faces of Nathan Brooks, Ava Thompson, and Lila Hayes. The air smelled of motor oil and damp concrete, mixed with the hum of outdated servers. At the room's center, Marcus Reed, a 50-year-old former data engineer with silver hair and sharp eyes, typed rapidly, uploading data from the Starlight USB to a secure server. The files, detailing MedSynth's cruel experiments on poor kids, causing brain damage and death, transferred second by second, each moment feeling like a knife at their throats. Ava, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, sat curled on a metal chair, clutching the twinkling stars, her big eyes mixing resolve with fear. Nathan stood behind her, his hands tight on her shoulders, his gaze darting between the screens and the steel door to the surface. "Hurry, Marcus," Lila whispered, her voice taut as a wire. She stood by the door, gripping a flashlight, ready for any threat. Marcus didn't look up, his fingers flying like a pianist's. 3 minutes left, he said, his voice steady. "This data has to go out before they find us." But before he finished, a loud bang echoed from above, making them jump. The ceiling lights flickered, concrete dust drifting down. Heavy, synchronized boots clomped down the steel stairs, joined by a cold voice over a radio. "Area B, check the basement. Find the USB." Nathan pulled Ava closer, his heart racing. "They're here," he said, his voice shaking but firm. Marcus looked up, his eyes steely. "Nathan, take Ava and go. he ordered, still typing. There's a tunnel behind the back door to the parking lot. Lila, go with them. Lila shook her head, her eyes blazing. We're not leaving you! But Marcus stood, pulling a handgun from a drawer, his gaze unwavering. You're her mother's legacy, he said, his voice like a vow. I'm just buying you time. Go now. Ava gripped Nathan's hand, her eyes glistening but tearless. Uncle Marcus, she whispered, her voice small but heavy. Marcus looked at her, a fatherly smile breaking through. Kid, keep your light shining like your mom did. Go. Nathan didn't hesitate. He pulled Ava toward the back door, Lila leading with her flashlight sweeping the dark. The steel door creaked open, revealing a narrow, pitch-black tunnel smelling of sewage and metal. The sound of boots grew louder, mixed with shattering glass and radio shouts. Nathan carried Ava, his shoulders scraping rusted pipes, water dripping onto his jacket. Ava, though terrified, clung to him, repeating like a mantra, Mom's with us, Mom's with us. Lila ran ahead, her flashlight dancing on the walls, guiding them through sharp turns. A gunshot rang out behind, freezing them. Nathan turned, his eyes red, but Lila yanked him forward. Marcus knows what he's doing, she said, her voice choked. Don't let his sacrifice be for nothing. The tunnel ended at a manhole to an abandoned parking lot, where rusted containers stood under faint streetlights. Lila pushed the cover up, cold air rushing in, carrying the scent of wet asphalt. Nathan lifted Ava out, setting her down, and the three sprinted to an old van Marcus had prepped. Lila jumped into the driver's seat, starting the engine, while Nathan held Ava in the back, checking the USB was still in her jacket. We've got it, he said, his voice trembling with relief and pain. Ava nestled into him, the book intact, a reminder of their mother's mission. Will Uncle Marcus be okay? She asked, her voice tiny. Nathan didn't answer, just held her tighter, staring out the window as Seattle's lights blurred into the night. The van sped into the darkness, distant police sirens echoing. The Starlight data was sent, but at a steep cost. Marcus, who gave his life to protect them, was now a flame lighting their path. Ava, Nathan, and Lila were no longer fugitives. They were warriors, carrying a mother's fight against MedSynth and the shadows ahead. Seattle sparkled under rare morning sun, rays piercing thin clouds, glinting off streets still wet from last night's rain. But in the small studio of Emerald News, the local TV station, tension hung like a taut string ready to snap. Gray soundproof walls absorbed the hum of equipment, the air tinged with stale coffee and hot wiring. Ava Thompson, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, sat on a high chair, her small legs swinging above the floor. The twinkling stars rested in her lap like a talisman. Nathan Brooks, her brother, stood behind her, his hand gently on her shoulder, his tired eyes burning with resolve after their escape from MedSynth's task force. Lila Hayes, the journalist with short brown-dyed hair, adjusted her microphone, the smell of her leather jacket mixing with the studio's sterile air. They'd outrun danger with the Starlight USB, proof of MedSynth's brutal experiments on poor kids. Now they weren't hiding. They were ready to tell the world. Lila glanced at Ava, offering a reassuring smile. You ready, kiddo? She asked, her voice warm but firm. Ava nodded, her big eyes shining, no longer with fear, but with a resolve beyond her years. I'm ready, she said, her voice small but clear, like a star in the dark. The cameras lit up, a red light blinking, and Lila began. Welcome to Emerald News. Today, we bring you a story not just about a little girl, but about a truth buried by the powerful. Ava Thompson, tell us your story. The camera zoomed in on Ava, the studio holding its breath. Nathan squeezed her shoulder, lending strength. Ava took a deep breath and spoke, her voice clear and strong. My name's Ava Thompson. I'm 7. My mom died from a heart condition, but I found something she left. A secret about Starlight. They hurt kids like me, just because we're poor. My mom tried to stop them, but they made her go away. I don't want other kids to lose their moms like I did. Her words swept through the studio like a gust, stunning the crew, one technician wiping away a tear. Lila picked up, her voice sharp yet emotional. MedSynth's Starlight project isn't science. It's manipulation, drug trials on innocent kids, causing brain damage and death hidden under the guise of research. We have proof. documents, videos, and a mother's legacy who gave everything to expose the truth. She held up the USB, its black casing glinting. The screen behind flashed Starlight files, lists of children, damage reports, and MedSynth executives' signatures. Outside, the news spread like wildfire. Hashtag Stop Starlight trended on social media, from X posts to TikTok clips. In Seattle's downtown square, hundreds gathered, holding signs reading Justice for Kids and End Starlight. A mother raised a photo of her son, a Starlight victim, tears streaming down her face. Teens live-streamed the protest, chanting, "We stand with Ava." In the studio, Ava looked into the camera, her voice steady. "I know my mom's watching. I want her to be proud, and I want everyone to help so no one else gets hurt." Nathan, behind her, couldn't hide his tears. He leaned down, whispering, "You did amazing, Ava." Lila closed the broadcast with a fierce call. "This is the truth MedSynth tried to bury. Today, a 7-year-old brought it to light. Share this story." Used # Stop Starlight. Let the world know we won't stay silent. The cameras cut, but Ava's words echoed. Within hours, #Stop Starlight went national, with thousands of posts from parents, teachers, and strangers, all moved by a girl with a $5 bus ticket. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds, as if Seattle smiled on Ava, but she, Nathan, and Lila knew the fight wasn't over. The Starlight data was public, but MedSynth wouldn't go quietly. Ava's story had sparked a fire, and the world was ready to keep it burning. Seattle glowed under a golden sunset, the last rays streaming through the federal courthouse's large windows, where tension hung like a wire ready to break. Polished oak benches were packed with lawyers, reporters, and citizens who'd followed Ava Thompson's story via #Stop Starlight. The air smelled of wood polish, mixed with the murmur of the crowd, creating a solemn yet stifling atmosphere. On the witness stand, Ava, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, sat upright, her small hands clutching the twinkling stars. Her big eyes shone with unyielding resolve, like a flame that wouldn't fade. Nathan Brooks, her brother, stood beside her, his delivery jacket swapped for a borrowed suit, his gaze a mix of worry and pride. Lila Hayes, the journalist with short brown-dyed hair, sat in the front row, gripping her laptop with the Starlight data. Across from them, on the defendant's bench, sat Olivia Grant, MedSynth's CEO, in a sleek business suit, her eyes cold, as if she still held all the cards. Judge Evelyn Carter, a black woman with piercing eyes, banged her gavel, demanding silence. "Ms. Grant," she said, her voice deep and commanding, "Ava Thompson and Nathan Brooks have presented evidence about Starlight, illegal trials on children causing brain damage and death." "What do you have to say?" Olivia smiled thinly, her voice smooth as silk. "Your Honor, this is a tragic misunderstanding. MedSynth conducted research with legal consent. These documents," she gestured to the USB on the table, "were fabricated to smear our company." The crowd murmured, reporters typing furiously, live streaming to millions. Nathan's fists clenched, his eyes blazing, but Lila signaled him to stay calm. They were ready for this. "Ava?" Lila stood, her voice ringing clear. "Do you want to share something?" Ava nodded, stepping down, book in hand. The cameras focused on her, the room falling silent. "I found something in this book," Ava said, her voice clear and strong. She opened it, pulling out the Starlight USB and holding it up. "My mom left it. She knew her," she pointed at Olivia. "Ordered kids to be hurt. And Mom left a video to prove it." The crowd gasped. Olivia paled, her smile vanishing. Lila quickly plugged the USB into her laptop, connecting to a projector. A video played on the large screen, their mother's face appearing, her eyes trembling but resolute. "I'm Sarah Thompson," her voice rang out, weak but powerful. "Olivia Grant ordered Starlight to continue despite knowing it was deadly. I have documents, signatures, and her emails. If I don't survive, protect the kids." The video stopped, and the courtroom erupted in gasps and murmurs. Olivia shot up, her voice shrill. "That's fake! There's no proof!" But Judge Carter slammed her gavel, her eyes like daggers. "Ms. Grant, sit down. We'll verify this video's authenticity." The crowd cheered, phones live-streaming the moment. Nathan hugged Ava, tears streaming, but a proud smile on his lips. Lila stood, her voice booming. This video, with Starlight's documents, is undeniable proof. MedSynth stole the futures of hundreds of kids, and they must pay. Ava looked at Olivia, fearless. My mom warned you, she said, her voice small but sharp, and now the world knows. Outside, the crowd roared, waving #Stop Starlight signs, their cheers echoing through Seattle's streets. The live stream hit millions of views, comments flooding in, Ava's a hero, and justice for Sarah. In the courtroom, Olivia bowed her head, her eyes showing defeat for the first time. Judge Carter looked at Ava, her gaze softening. Young lady, you've done what many adults wouldn't dare. Thank you. Ava nodded, hugging her book tighter, as if her mother was there, smiling. Nathan and Lila exchanged a look. They knew the fight wasn't over, but this was a victory. A fire of justice lit by a 7-year-old with a $5 bus ticket. Dawn broke over Seattle, golden rays weaving through skyscrapers, lighting up streets still damp from the night's rain. The air carried the scent of coffee from corner shops and the chirping of birds, as if the city welcomed a new beginning. Outside the federal courthouse, where the historic hearing had unfolded, crowds lingered, waving signs with #Stop Starlight and Justice for Ava. Cheers and applause mingled with camera flashes from reporters. In Seattle's heart, Ava Thompson's story, the 7-year-old who exposed MedSynth's cruel Starlight project, had become a wildfire spreading hope. But in a quiet corner of the city, at a tree-lined park, Ava, Nathan Brooks, and Lila Hayes savored a rare moment of peace, where their victory began to spark real change. Ava sat on a wooden bench under a maple tree, her curly hair tied with a faded blue ribbon fluttering in the breeze. She no longer clung to the twinkling stars like a lifeline, setting it beside her, like a friend who'd done its job. Her big eyes sparkled, free of worry, filled with a child's joy. Nathan, her brother, sat next to her, no longer in his worn delivery jacket, but a simple shirt, his tired eyes now bright with hope. Lila, her brown-dyed hair catching the sun, stood nearby, her phone buzzing with messages from colleagues and viewers of Emerald News. MedSynth's research operations just got shut down, Lila said, her voice vibrant. Starlight's officially canceled. And the FBI is launching a full investigation into Olivia Grant. Nathan smiled, looking at Ava. You did it, kiddo, he said, his voice thick. Ava looked up, her smile as bright as the sun. We did it, Nathan, she replied, her voice clear. And Mom's proud, right? Nathan nodded, pulling her into a hug, tears falling silently. In that moment, they weren't just siblings. They were warriors who'd faced darkness to bring light. Ava's story didn't end in the courtroom. Days later, Samuel Carter, owner of Carter's Rare Reads, announced the Sarah Thompson Scholarship Fund, named for Ava's mother, to help poor kids pursue science education. At the launch, Samuel stood before a crowd, his gray suit exuding calm, but his eyes shone with faith. Ava Thompson changed us all, he said, his voice warm. She showed me that a dream, even as small as a $5 bus ticket, can light up the world. The crowd applauded, and Ava, beside him, held up a new drawing. A bright star with the words, "For Mom." The image went viral, a symbol of hope. At Ava's school, things shifted too. No more wary looks from teachers, no more tests marked "needs monitoring." Ava joined an astronomy program where she peered through telescopes, sketched constellations, and dreamed of being a scientist. One afternoon, she ran to the park where Nathan and Lila waited, waving a small badge from her class. Junior astronomer. I'm gonna find a star for Mom, she cheered, and the three laughed, their joy mingling with the rustling maple leaves. Beyond the park, Seattle hummed with new energy. Starlight victims' families spoke out, schools audited educational software, and #Stop Starlight spread nationwide. Ava, with her $5 ticket and dream of a mom, became a symbol of courage. But she was still Ava, the girl who loved drawing stars, listening to Nathan's stories, and believing her mom was out there, smiling. As the sun set, Nathan, Ava, and Lila sat on the bench, watching the sky turn red. We'll keep going, right? Ava asked, her voice small but firm. Lila nodded, squeezing her hand. We won't stop, kiddo. There's more light to shine. Nathan looked at his sister, pride swelling. And you'll lead the way, he said. Ava smiled, her ribbon dancing in the breeze, a promise that her journey was far from over. Seattle shimmered under a gentle dusk, the last sunlight glinting off Puget Sound, like stars fallen from Ava Thompson's dreams. In Ava and Nathan Brooks' small apartment, a homemade paper lantern hung from the ceiling, casting soft light on patched walls, banishing the smell of burnt coffee and the drip of a leaky faucet. The living room, once heavy with stacked bills, now buzzed with laughter and the aroma of homemade pizza. Ava, the 7-year-old with curly hair tied by a faded blue ribbon, sat cross-legged on an old rug, a colored pencil in hand, sketching twinkling stars on paper. Nathan, no longer in his frayed delivery jacket but a cozy sweater, watched her with bright eyes. Lila Hayes, the journalist with short brown-dyed hair, sliced pizza with a light smile. Samuel Carter, from Carter's Rare Reads, sat at the table's edge, his gray suit swapped for a casual shirt, holding a warm apple cider, his eyes full of gratitude. For the first time, they gathered as a family, not to flee or fight, but to share a moment of triumph and hope. "Ava, this star looks like Mom's, doesn't it?" Nathan asked, pointing at her drawing. Ava nodded, her smile radiant. "It's for Mom, Uncle Marcus, and all of us," she said, her voice clear and meaningful. Lila set down the knife, looking at the group. "We did the impossible," she said, her voice warm. "A 7-year-old with a $5 bus ticket made the world listen. MedSynth's under investigation, Starlight's done, and Samuel's scholarship is changing kids' lives. But what's the biggest thing, Ava?" Ava paused her drawing, looking up, her eyes blazing. "That we didn't give up," she said. "Even when we were scared or tired, we kept going, for Mom and everyone else." Samuel nodded, raising his cider. "Exactly," he said, his voice deep. "Perseverance isn't being fearless. It's being scared but moving forward, like you did, Ava." Nathan smiled, resting a hand on her shoulder. "And like Mom did," he added, his voice thick. "She fought for justice, and we carried it on. But Ava, you're the light that led us." They fell quiet, letting the words sink in. The clock's tick mingled with kids' laughter from a nearby park, a reminder that the world kept turning, better now because of them. Lila stood, holding up her phone, showing #StopStarlight with millions of shares. "This isn't just our story," she said, her voice strong. "It's everyone's. Those who shared, protested, spoke up. But we need to keep going." Share your own story. Tell the world what's worth fighting for. Use #StopStarlight to light up other dark corners. Ava jumped up, waving her drawing, a starry sky with perseverance as light. "I want everyone to see this," she cheered, and the group laughed, their joy echoing like a song of hope. As night fell, the paper lantern flickered, illuminating Ava's drawing on the table. They ate pizza, shared funny stories, and for the first time, the small apartment felt like a true home. Samuel watched Ava, thinking of her letter, feeling a new mission stir. Lila checked emails, seeing messages from other Starlight victims ready to speak. Nathan hugged Ava, knowing his sister had changed their world. And Ava, her ribbon fluttering, drew another star, whispering, "For Mom and for all of us." "Folks, if Ava's story touched your heart," Lila said, as if speaking to the world through an imaginary camera, "stand up for what you believe in. Perseverance, like Ava's, always finds the light. Share your story with #StopStarlight, because every voice matters." Outside, Seattle twinkled under the night sky, and the fire Ava ignited burned bright, promising bigger changes ahead.